Welcome back to Hot My Sports Show, guys. I'm Benjamin Merrick, your host, and there's a ton of stuff I want to talk about today. So if we could just get right into it, I'll start with football, and then I have some things to talk about with basketball too. So it should be super interesting show today, and I hope you guys enjoy. So if you do, please leave a like. Please subscribe. We're on number 4 now, so keeping it consistent so far. Hopefully we can continue to do that. So the first thing I wanted to get into, Le'Veon Bell has been the talk of my videos. All 3 of them, I believe, I've mentioned Le'Veon Bell in. So today he released some news saying that he is down to 3 teams: Chiefs, Dolphins, Bills. And that reveals quite a lot. I think it kind of went under the radar, and a lot of people are like more so looking at Le'Veon Bell's perspective. But there's a lot to dig into. So if I'm the Chiefs, there's no reason why I would want Le'Veon Bell. Just, you have Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Your offense is perfectly intact. There's no reason to bring on a possible cancer that forces his way out of a team mid-season. There's just no reason. The Dolphins is the surprising one to everyone. But this shows that Le'Veon Bell isn't a winner. He doesn't care about winning. He wants his bag and he wants his role. He thinks he's still going to be in a superstar role. And he just, on a contending team, that's not a thing. Like, you can't have Le'Veon Bell, with the production he's had, on a contending team as a superstar, in like the superstar role. The Dolphins will give him money and give him touches, and that's what he wants. He doesn't care about a Super Bowl. He doesn't care about making it to the playoffs. All he wants is his money and his touches. He'll probably sign a 1-year deal with the Dolphins, get a ton of touches, and then sign a max or he wants to sign a max contract after this season, saying that he would have proved something, which he's just not that good anymore. He's past his prime. He's like, in comparisons to Carmelo Anthony, when Carmelo was out of OKC, he still wanted a big bag. He still wanted to be a starter on a contending team. And first of all, if Carmelo Anthony is your starting small forward, you're not a contending team. And contending teams don't have that money just to throw around to guys like Carmelo Anthony. It took Carmelo almost 2 years to realize he's going to have to come back on a minimum deal and be a bench warmer. Or a bench... He's like a 9th man in Portland. And I love him in Portland. His game is perfect. But it took him a long time to realize that. And I think that's where Le'Veon Bell is right now. He's like at the point where he thinks he's still a superstar, but we all know he's not a superstar. He doesn't deserve superstar perks. So the last team he talked about signing with was Buffalo, who I've mentioned in my videos that Le'Veon Bell would be a good fit for Buffalo. Not really much of a culture yet in Buffalo. He wouldn't be disrupting anything like he would the Chiefs. So that could be a good fit. Bring him in as a 1-year guy. See how far you could get if you're Buffalo. Go from there. Still a young quarterback, young running backs, young wideouts. This is probably the best fit is Buffalo. They're 4-1 right now, top of the division. Why not? If you're Buffalo, give them a shot. If you're Le'Veon Bell and you want to win, the Dolphins wouldn't have been in this top 3. So I don't see him going to the Chiefs. I see him going to either the Dolphins or Bills. Whoever offers him more money and touches, honestly. And that'll probably be the Dolphins. Moving on from that, the Saints have some pretty interesting decisions coming up. And I think this story is going really under the radar. Michael Thomas got in an altercation with a teammate, and they suspended him by not playing him in this last game. It was a fist fight. He punched someone in the face. There is a lot going on in that Saints locker room, and I think this is it. I think the Saints are done. Michael Thomas could be on his way out after this altercation, and with the Saints where they're at right now. Look, this offseason with the Black Lives Matter movement and everything, Drew Brees had some very controversial comments. His teammates bashed him, publicly bashed him, and he lost a ton of respect from players around the league. and he seemed to have gained it back. Like, he made some comments, seemed to have gained it back, but it's been sour ever since. And Drew Brees on the field this year has not been good. Not been a top half quarterback. He's been terrible. Michael Thomas now gets in this altercation. He talked a ton of trash over the offseason with Devontae Parker throwing tweets at him, saying he's the best wide receiver in the league. Just kind of went a little off, like, character. So you add it up, Drew Brees no longer seems like a leader in that locker room. Michael Thomas no longer has respect from that team after a fist fight. That's it. Like, they have Kamara, Drew Brees, and Michael Thomas. Two of those three guys don't look like they should be on the Saints right now. They gave Kamara a bag, but there was even hesitation to give him his money. So I think this is the last year for the Saints, and they could move Thomas before the deadline. I wouldn't be surprised if they move Thomas. They're going to stick it out with Brees, but I wouldn't be surprised if Brees retired after this year either. Running backs get traded for cheap. We know this. They're not a very valued position anymore because there's so many running backs that are quality running backs. I'm not saying Kamara will be super cheap, but I'm saying if you wanted to trade Thomas, you wanted to trade Kamara, now is the time. So I would really look out for the Saints making moves. I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen. I'm not saying they're 100% moving out from Thomas, but the dominoes are starting to fall for the Saints, and I don't see it working out well. They're past their Super Bowl prime. This is the time to get stuff back for Michael Thomas, back for Kamara, and let Drew Brees go out. So that's it for football. This probably will be a pretty long video. I don't know, maybe around 15 minutes, but longest so far for sure. So in last video, I mentioned like there was a ton of teams in playoff contention, 7 or 8 teams in title contention. And I got some comments saying, like, the T-Wolves are not in playoff contention. The Rockets without Harden aren't in playoff contention. And I thought about the T-Wolves thing for a long time, and some Rockets news broke today, about like an hour before I recorded this. So I figured this is a perfect day to talk about everything. So I'm going to start off with the Rockets. Daryl Morey, the general manager for the Rockets that built this small ball with Mike D'Antoni, who also parted ways with the Rockets about a month ago. Daryl Morey steps down. Not fired, not mutually parted ways, he stepped down, which brings up a lot of questions. If he got fired, it's like they're done with the small ball, no center, shooting 3, 7 seconds offense. They're done. They're moving on from that. But he stepped down. So what do the Rockets do now? Is it time to sell? Are they getting rid? I suspected they'd be getting rid of Westbrook anyways. Are they done? Are they rebuilding? What's their coach? They're without a coach, without a GM right now. Who are they going to hire? Like, what schemes? Because if they hire, like, Ty Lue, which has been rumored, that's just like a balanced offense. They would have to revamp their team because they don't have a center. They traded Capella for a bag of chips. You can't have PJ Tucker as a center. We found that out. There was a lot of talk this season about, like, if this experiment could work. It didn't work. Not even a little bit. Not worked. And Russell Westbrook's getting older. He's on a huge contract. I think they're going to end up moving on. We'll see who they hire. It'll tell a lot. But Doc Rivers is out. He's already hired. Billy Donovan's hired. They missed their opportunities, and now they need a new GM. I don't know. I think they're done. I think Harden will end up in Philly. I know last video I said that Philly's not trading Simmons or Embiid because that's what Doc Rivers hinted at. But this is a perfect opportunity to pull off a trade for James Harden, Ben Simmons, and like Josh Richardson, and just take in Harden, pair him with Embiid. That's a great pick and roll. That's two players that can ISO in their respective positions. Like you can get Joel down and you can get Embiid down low with a one-on-one in the post. You can get Harden up top with a one-on-one. Two of the best players one-on-one, one in the post, one up top. That would be a really, really good team and a really, really good move for Philly. I feel like they're going to sell, and Russell Westbrook will end up on a team like Minnesota, which brings me into talking about Minnesota. So I'm really confused on what Minnesota is trying to do here. They said they gave up on Jarrett Culver, their first-round pick of last year, who I personally think has a ton of potential. They're giving up on him after his first year. They don't want to make a draft pick. They want to trade this pick. And they've also rumored a lot about getting rid of D'Angelo Russell. So what are you doing? Like, they're not rebuilding, because if they were rebuilding, they have the perfect piece to rebuild. They have the number one pick. That's what you target when you're rebuilding, right? But they're not going for a chip because they're trading D'Lo. And if D'Lo goes, they're trading Towns. Or if Town goes, they're trading D'Lo. Those two are best friends. If D'Lo gets traded out, Towns is going to force his way out. He's done. So you're looking at these trade assets, right? The number one pick, D'Angelo Russell, Karl-Anthony Towns, Jarrett Culver. Other than that, that team sucks. That team sucks. But those are some really, really solid assets. I expect them to make a deal like D'Angelo Russell in the first pick for Russell Westbrook. Or maybe it's a little bit less than that. Maybe it's like Malik Beasley in the first pick for Russell Westbrook. Because like I just said, the Rockets might be rebuilding. They have the assets, obviously, to get the number one pick. If the Rockets are rebuilding and the Wolves are trying to move on from D'Lo, this is a good deal. And if they ended up keeping Towns, which they won't, but if Towns wanted to stay, Russell Westbrook and Karl-Anthony Towns would be a deadly pick and roll, pick and pop. It gives Karl-Anthony Towns the perfect point guard. It gives Russell Westbrook the perfect center. Like, Russell Westbrook has always needed spacing. That's why in Houston, that PJ Tucker experiment worked for Russ, just not everyone else. It wasn't a winning team. Like, it was a winning team, but it wasn't a championship team. So the Rockets could get the number one overall pick their future guy. Maybe it's Wiseman, which would be ironic after not having a center at all. Maybe it's LaMelo Ball. Maybe it's Anthony Edwards. And the Wolves would move on, I guess, from D'Angelo Russell. They'd have to move on from Towns. Maybe that's where the Hawks come in. The Hawks have a ton of assets. DeAndre Hunter, John Collins, Clint Capella, Kevin Huerter, Cam Reddish hasn't really seen the floor yet. They have a ton of first-round picks. Trae Young and Karl-Anthony Towns might be the two best, like, young offensive weapons in the league. And that's just, like, might be, right? But on defense, they would suck. Like, on defense, they'd be the worst team in the league. We know this. But you say you keep Huerter, you keep Collins somehow, give up, like, Capella, some picks, Cam Reddish, DeAndre Hunter. You have Karl-Anthony Towns, who's one of the best offensive centers in the league. You have Trae Young. You have Kevin Huerter. You have John Collins. Those four as a starting lineup, that is a playoff team. Easy. It's a playoff team. It's a top 6 seed. That would be really, really interesting. So you say you get a ton of young guys for Towns and some picks, like future picks, because next year's draft class is really good. Cade Cunningham is a baller. And this is kind of weak. Other than Wiseman, it's kind of weak. We'll have to see what Melo does. He's just super inefficient. Like, if LaMelo Ball comes into the league and he plays well, it's his averages, not his efficiency. So we'll see. The Rockets could blow it up. The T-Wolves could blow it up. And one more thing about the Timberwolves is they might find a way to give Devin Booker. If they don't want to move on from D'Lo and Cat, Devin Booker is best friends with D'Angelo Russell and Karl-Anthony Towns. We all saw the Slam magazine. It's iconic for our generation. With D'Angelo Russell, Devin Booker, Karl-Anthony Towns. They said they would all play together one day. The Suns just had this historic bubble run. That didn't get them anywhere, but there's some super high hopes for Phoenix right now. I don't see Devin Booker leaving yet, but like I said, they're best friends. There could be a world where Devin Booker says, I want out. And you know who has the number one pick? You know who has Jarrett Culver? Minnesota. They have some assets without giving up D'Lo, without giving up Towns. That could be enough for Booker. Phoenix would hate, the city of Phoenix would hate the Suns for giving up Booker. But You throw in 3 first-round picks, including this number 1 pick. You throw in Malik Beasley and Jarrett Culver. That's enough. That's enough. Then you have Devin Booker, D'Angelo Russell, Karl-Anthony Towns. Really good offense. Not great defensively, but I'm not saying that's even close to a championship team, honestly, because I don't like D'Angelo Russell's game when he's not the number 1. He's solid, but he's not the number 1 guy right now. And when he was in Brooklyn, that was a playoff team. But that could be a top 6 seed in the West also, and a team that could give some of the top guys, like the Lakers, like the Clippers, a run for their money. So we'll have to see what the Wolves do. I'm not totally sure on what they're doing. They're going to end up doing something stupid like selling the number 1 pick and D'Lo and Towns and getting nothing back. And now they suck. And their best players like Malik Beasley. But they have a lot of options. And they could just ride it out and pick LaMelo Ball number 1, trade D'Lo, which is probably the most rumored thing, is that they're just going to pick Edwards or LaMelo, trade D'Angelo, and get like a forward. But the Wolves are in a tough spot, but they also have like a ton of options. So it's very exciting in both worlds right now, with the Rockets moving on from Daryl Morey and the Wolves just being idiots. So yeah, I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I know it's a little bit longer, but I'm trying new things. So if you could just like let me know in the comments your thoughts, what you think I should be doing, all sorts of stuff. I would really appreciate it. What you think I should talk about, all that stuff. Please like, please sub. I'd appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. See ya.